Hello, I'm Andrew Gower, Principal of Morley College London. Welcome to the second of two special events to reboot the Morley Forward campaign. The Morley Forward campaign is a really ambitious project to raise some £18 million through which to fully fund a 4-phase renovation of the Waterloo Centre here on Westminster Bridge Road. The event today is to particularly focus on Phase 2, and Phase 2 is about a renovation of the historic Emma Conns Hall at the heart of the Waterloo Centre. But before we turn to Phase 2, there are two messages of welcome, firstly from our Chair of Governors, Dr. Stuart Edwards, and secondly from our campaign patron, JOANNA LUMLEY.
Thank you, Andrew, and welcome everybody to the Morley Forward Reboot. It's my great privilege to be Chair of Governors at Morley College London. Currently we have significant renovation and improvement programmes in place at each of our three main centres, at Kensington, at Chelsea and at Waterloo, to modernise them accessible community hubs for lifelong learning, and what could be more important for the future. These events are about our programme at Waterloo. We now have real momentum and we're determined to keep going with your support. The new entrance is now open. The gallery is being renovated as we speak, and we are already making good progress in terms of funding pledges for Phase 2. It feels important at this moment to have faith that together we can forge our future. I hope you will be as excited as we are by the plans, and that you will take inspiration from our patron. Thank you for your support, and thank you for whatever help you can give us.
Welcome to this reboot event for Morley Forward. I was with you a year ago, almost to the day, to launch this ambitious project to revitalise Morley College. And little did we know that just around the corner would be this global pandemic. But we're more determined than ever to make sure that the planned development works go ahead. And this event is really to rebuild momentum to make sure that that happens. With major backing secured just before the lockdown, we have identified half of the £6 million target to take us on to the next phase. And with your collective support, we can continue on the path to make Morley a fully accessible and contemporary college for lifelong learning. Now, doesn't that sound fabulous? I wish I were with you. My warmest good wishes to you all.
Hello and welcome to this, our second in two films about Morley Forward, which is the programme of works to modernise the Morley College London site here at Waterloo. In the previous film we looked at Phase 1, the completion of our new entranceway, our new reception area, which includes Morley Radio Studios and also a student support hub, and also the ongoing work on the art gallery. And that means that by the middle of next year, we'll have completed Phase 1 of our project and we'll be moving on our focus to Phase 2, which is what we're talking about today. And the idea of today's session really is to do two things. One, it's to bring everyone back up to speed with the scope of the works in Phase 2, the exciting works that are planned. And the second thing is really to renew our call to supporters, to funders, to help us reach the funding goal that we need in order to complete these works. We've just seen an exciting preview of what the Phase 2 works look like. And we're sitting here in the Emma Cons Hall, obviously pre-renovation. And that's really at the heart of Phase 2's works. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. But I'm delighted to be joined today by a panel of guests who are going to talk through the benefits of this programme. They are, firstly, Dimitris Karidis, who is the programme manager for classical music. Hi Dimitris, and he's joined online by Flavio Livini, who is the programme manager for jazz. Very welcome.
Hi, good to see you.
We're also joined by Gerald Jones, Centre Principal for Waterloo Centre, newly in post. Gerald, welcome.
Thank you.
And by Nick Durston, who's a governor and also Chief Executive of the South Bank Employers Group, and of course we're sitting in that South Bank zone. And finally by Simon Farley, who is Campaign Director for the fundraising effort for Morley Forward. Welcome, Simon.
Thank you.
So, I'd like to start really by settling on one of the big themes of this phase of the work, and in fact of Morley Forward generally, which is accessibility. The accessibility of spaces here in our Waterloo Centre. Gerald, why is that an important factor of adult education as a whole?
Well, the new Spine Gallery is going to open up Morley in a way that has never happened before. There are currently 7 levels in the Waterloo Centre of Morley College. Who knew? And each of those levels presents an opportunity for someone to get to an amazing new subject or an amazing new classroom, but also presents a barrier. And what we wanted to do with this project is to continue that tradition of Morley College and adult education generally, which is to make things as accessible to as many people as possible. So when I was here as a young boy in the 1970s and I'd have to get to my enamelling class, I'd have to go into reception, go down 2 flights of stairs, underneath the hall that we're now in, up another flight of stairs into the fire escape. And that is the current route to get to the theatre that's just behind us. So the Spine Gallery will open up all that. There'll be no stairs, no barriers, directly through to the theatre and to this space that we're sitting in now. So it really will open up Morley in a way that hasn't happened in its wonderful history.
Great, and of course we're sitting here in Emma Cons Hall, but behind us is the Johnny Harris Studio Theatre, and it is something of a rabbit warren to get into that theatre at the moment. So I think this will really revolutionise access to that part of the building. Simon, why is this accessibility, why is that so important for funders?
Well, really, it's at the core of the whole project. I mean, Morley Forward is an £18 million project to completely refurbish the whole of the Waterloo Centre of Morley College. So it's a very ambitious programme. I mean, if you think about the history of Morley, it's been, the college was founded in the 1880s. The original building was destroyed in the war. The hall that we're sitting in now was rebuilt in the 1950s. There were additions in the 70s. So, and all of those different additions have never really joined together properly. So they've been great as additions to create the college that it is now, but the project now is about creating a level access so that students can seamlessly get from one part of the building to another. And it's so important in this day and age and that we are able to attract more students from an increasingly diverse range of backgrounds and present to them a contemporary set of facilities that are fully accessible to everyone regardless of their mobility.
Great. And I suppose if accessibility is a real key theme, a second one is quality. So the quality of the spaces that we're able to offer our students and Londoners in general. We've seen from phase one how the quality of the entrance, the quality of the spaces that we can provide, the quality of the Morley students, the Morley radio studios has really gone through the roof thanks to that work. So maybe I can bring in Dimitris here. Tell us, Dimitris, from your perspective as a musical program manager, how is the quality of this space going to improve as a result of these works?
First of all, it is important to mention here that music and performing arts have been historically really strong in the college, and performance plays a very important role in both our courses we offer to students, but generally as well. And many of our students come to the college to study because they are given these performing opportunities. So having a really state-of-the-art performance space, as we have it here, it's going to be a great opportunity for our students to enhance their experience, as well as our tutors. So things, for example, like the pods which are going to be installed in the Spine Gallery will replace our currently quite dingy practice rooms. They will be great to be used as green rooms, something that we don't have for performers who want to relax and practice a little bit before a performance. Again, the foyer, which is going to be in between the new Emacons and the studio theatre, will be a great meeting point for students to have a chat and exchange ideas. And obviously the new Emacons is a great thing because it will give us flexible acoustics so that we can accommodate different types of music. So for example, a jazz event can be, the needs of the acoustics for a jazz event is very different from a classical music event. So we will be able to accommodate that. I mean, generally this will be a great opportunity for our students and tutors to give the best, and also we will attract even more students to the college, I think. Flavio, you want to add something to this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, following on what you just said, we did work very hard to make Morley a performance space for our students. And in my area, for instance, we have 5 big bands, and we don't have yet a space that actually fits the sound of a big band, which is very different from what you would need for an orchestra, as Dimitri was saying. And a new hall will definitely help us, not only for student performances and rehearsals, but also for events like the jazz series that we hosted recently. That was a great success. We started to bring new audiences in, but also we gave students an amazing experience having leading artists here in the college playing and actually exchanging ideas with them. So an enhanced space would make a massive difference. But also at the moment, every time we organize an event, also a rehearsal, we have an outdated lighting system and PA, and we always need support from technicians to make anything happen. So we will need a PA and lighting system that would be user-friendly and easy to use for teachers, students, and everyone that works at the college. I will also add that, there are some sound spillage issues in the college with all these performances happening often at the same time. It's not uncommon to have a big band concert and an opera rehearsal just a few meters down the corridor. And with the new facilities, these problems will be solved for good, and it'll be a much friendlier space for all our students and tutors to work in.
Great, so I think some real benefits coming out there around the actual space that we're sitting in here, the Emacons Hall itself, and also the circulation space around it, which is not only accessible but also provides new spaces for the exhibition, I think, of artworks. Gerald, tell us a little bit about why that's important, because obviously, as well as a real history of music here at Morley, we've also got a real history of visual arts, and having extra space and new modern space to exhibit some of that's going to be important too, isn't it?
Exactly right. So the new gallery that's part of phase one will give students an opportunity to exhibit, and in addition to the new gallery, we want to use the rest of Morley's spaces across the 3 centres, including here, to give that wall space, that exhibition space, so that students have a chance to be celebrated, to show their work, to their fellow students to have a chance to learn enterprise skills, exhibition skills, to developing promoting skills in terms of selling their work. And so the new Spine Gallery will give that space, a very public space, to really show and showcase all the amazing work that our art students produce, as well as our music students.
Great, and of course, if you're coming to a performance here, you'll pass by that, and so we're expecting many more people to see a given artwork than maybe would have done before. So Nick, can I bring you in here? Obviously you're a governor here, but you're also, you have the oversight of this whole area, the South Bank area. So my question to you really is, from a Morley perspective, why do you think this piece of work is important? But then more widely from a South Bank perspective and from an SE1 perspective, where do you see this project fitting in the arts fabric of this area?
Yeah, well, I think from a governor perspective, we are obviously keen to prioritise the investment in the Waterloo Centre because of all the reasons that the team here have outlined. Big focus on accessibility, big focus on inclusion, and really they combine to provide those extra opportunities for learning, for education and for skills, and I'll sort of come back to that. That's why the governors are keen to see Morley Forward succeed. It's why obviously we're committed to a major fundraising campaign because we do need those funders to support our ambitions. But I think it's also important to say that this is part of a much wider capital programme across all of the centres, including Chelsea and Kensington. Different funding packages for some of those, but that's a commitment that the governors have made for how we take Morley into the 21st century and how we provide those opportunities for Londoners across all of the centres. Taken together, it does represent one of the biggest investments in adult learning and adult education in London, at the current time, and indeed ever more important to make those investments in terms of the opportunities that Londoners have. And I think that ties into the question that you've asked about that wider landscape here. The South Bank, the Waterloo area, obviously world-renowned for its artistic, its creativity and its cultural offer. South Bank Centre, National Theatre, BFI, Old Vic, Young Vic, Ballet Rombay, they're all here, this incredible concentration. And the Morley story is fundamental to that over many, many years. And crucially, it's an absolutely fundamental part about the future. It's about giving Londoners the skills and the learning opportunities to be able to access the opportunities that those organisations, but also others in the broader kind of creative and cultural sectors, which are fundamentally important parts of the economy and to this area's economy. So that's the investment that this project promises to deliver, and the governors are fully committed to making it happen.
And given where we are sitting here in the midst of a pandemic, clearly that's more important than ever, that Londoners have access to the ability to re-skill themselves, to upskill themselves, to perhaps contemplate changing career.
Yes, absolutely, and obviously we're very, very alive to that. And I think we are confident and hopeful that the funders who are keen to support us recognise the dynamics there, recognise that this is, as well as an investment in the physical fabric, it's actually an investment in people's lives.
Great, so we've heard a lot about the potential benefits to accessibility, to quality of spaces, and then the knock-on impact to the quality of provision in the music area and visual and digital arts. Simon, tell us a bit about where we stand in terms of the funding and where we still need to reach.
Thank you. Yes. We basically launched this campaign. You'll have seen from JOANNA's introduction that JOANNA LUMLEY is our campaign patron. Very kindly helped us launch the event a year ago, almost to the day. And at that point, we launched the fundraising campaign for a £6 million project for Phase 2, having raised the money for Phase 1, which is 3.3 million, with the active support of the Greater London Authority and their Skills for Londoners Capital Fund. They remain our core funder, and they will contribute a third of the funding towards this second phase. But that means we have to still raise a significant amount of other funds. We launched the campaign, as I say, a year ago. We were fortunate in receiving a major pledge of support from the Garfield Weston Foundation, which we're very grateful for. We've also been benefited from 2 major legacies. And that means that we have raised a half with the funding support from the GLA ongoing. That means we are halfway there. So we have £3 million of the £6 million we need for Phase 2 in the bank. was secured. So the campaign now is to look at how we can raise the further £3 million. Obviously, it's a challenging time. We are still in the midst of the pandemic, but we are looking to go out to get more funding support and pledges of support from other key funders. And then we will also launch other types of fundraising, such as a high net worth campaign in the months ahead. So this event really is very much about rebooting the campaign, about bringing back into high profile the fact that we are actively raising money to make these essential changes to the college.
And you mentioned we're in the midst of a challenging time, but as Nick said, in many ways it's the most important time to be investing in education and investing in skills, because the future, whatever it holds, will require people to be skilled and to be agile in their career paths.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think with capital fundraising, we're always looking for the long-term future, and the long-term future to create is so essential for Morley College to create this as a sustainable college for the long term.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thanks so much to my panel here today for their insights into Phase 2 of the works. I also had a chance to catch up earlier with Steve Burr, who's the principal architect on the project. So let's hear from him now on the features, his vision for this Morley Forward project. So Steve, here we are, Steve Burr, architect on this project, sitting in this fabulous space that was completed really as part of Phase 1 of Morley Forward. Tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind the sort of overall design scheme.
Certainly. I suppose it sort of goes back to this vision that we developed with the college a number of years ago, and it was all about the three key aspects. One was about visibility, making the college much more sort of prominent within the local community, the local area. One was about accessibility, and I think you can see as you go around the college, there's lots of inaccessible spaces. And it's really about making it a very democratic place to be. And the third was about usability. And I suppose some people talk about that as being flexibility. And it was really trying to work with, I suppose, the fabric that the college currently has and trying to make more of it. And I think it was trying to bring those three elements together that ultimately sort of formed the vision for the master plan and then ultimately the Morley Forward proposals.
And tell us a little bit about the history, I suppose, of the master plan. How have we come to be here today?
I think things probably started 7 or 8 years ago with some early feasibility work, lots of consultation with staff, students, and actually developing that vision, trying to work out what people needed rather than imposing a big idea on the college. And then we took that through to some detailed design, and then so about 3 years ago ultimately got planning consent from unusually 2 different authorities. So part of the college sits
Lambeth
within,
Southwark,
yeah.
Right,
So Lambeth, which is where the bulk of the works are, which sits on this side of the scheme. But then we've also got Southwark as a second authority, which is where sort of Phase 1B of the current works are, which is the ongoing gallery refurbishment. So
great. And obviously we're sitting in Phase 1, but tell us a little bit more in detail. Give us a sort of virtual guided tour of Phase 2.
Certainly. Well, Phase 2 literally starts off from where we are. So we're currently sitting within the reception space. So Phase 1 is all the pink element. This section has been completed with the new reception and the level access and the new signage out to the street. But Phase 2, which is I suppose really why we're here today, is on this sort of threshold between the front and the rear of the building. And one of the things that we identified as we were going through the analysis of the college is that lots of people appeared or would come to reception and would have no idea about the other facilities that existed throughout the estate. And Phase 2 is really about trying to push people towards the back of the college and giving them the opportunity to experience a number of key facilities which have been hidden for years. I mean, they're fairly inaccessible. I mean, there's a statistic that we've now got 7 levels at the back of the building. Most people think of Morley as perhaps being on 2 or 3 levels. But the Phase 2 works are really about trying to push people towards the back of the college, give them full accessibility up and down the building, and then be able to use some of those underutilised spaces which are sort of hidden away at the back of the estate.
Great, so we'll come back in a minute to what's called, I think, the spine gallery and the core at the back. But tell us about the heart of this project, really, which is the refurbished Emma Cons Hall.
It is. Emma Cons Hall, I mean, it sits within the middle of the college. It was built, I think, in the sort of mid-50s, following bomb damage during World War II. It's a fantastic, fantastic space. It's a fantastic asset to the, for the college, which other colleges don't have. But one of the problems with it is people struggle to get into it if they had any mobility issues. It also suffered from overheating and being too cold in the winter, and it had issues around noise pollution. So you had this space which was being used by the orchestras, by students for exams, for conferences, and it didn't quite suit any of them. And the brief really was about trying to bring this asset into full use. So, and it sits at the heart of the proposals. And I think what we've tried to do is not disturb the sort of character of the space. And I think one of the things about going around the college is there's lots of there's lots of bits of character, lots of bits of sort of history. There's weathering to surfaces. You can see where people have used things over the last sort of 50, 60, 70 years. And we wanted to preserve that. And there's also some great pieces of art. So we've got the Martin Freud murals, which are within the space. And again, part of it is, how do you, I suppose not do a light touch, but how do you preserve that character, but bring it into, full use and actually allow the college to get the full benefit of that asset.
Great. So tell us a little bit about the Spine Gallery. I think that's on 2 levels, isn't it? A totally new part of the building. And maybe talk a bit about the rehearsal rooms, especially the pods.
Certainly. The Spine Gallery, I mean, I suppose we coined this phrase Spine Gallery, really to give it something for people to latch onto and sort of start to allow people to identify and work out what the spaces could be used for. And we did see it very much as a link between the front and back of the building, where rather than it just being a sort of a simple functional corridor that got people 50 metres down throughout the building, but actually had a series of functions and series of uses that could be that could be evolved over time. The spaces on the upper level, so effectively on the first floor of the college, are a series of 4 sort of small practice rooms. And one of the things we wanted to do was try and give people who are sort of moving around the college the opportunity to see other courses and other activities which are going on. So at the minute, practice rooms are hidden away in a sub-basement towards the back of the college. And we felt that if we could actually bring these spaces into a corridor, allow a little bit of sound to sort of permeate out into the courtyard, into the corridor spaces. It would show to other students that music was one of the key courses or range of courses which were being offered to students. They sit there at that upper level. They look out onto the new courtyard space. Again, one of the latter phases of the sort of Morley Forward programme. But they still allow us to maintain a route which runs from the front to the back of the building. I suppose the other advantage is that within Emmacons Hall, there's a series of high-level windows. So at the minute, when obviously there's a performance, those windows need to be sort of blanked out. They cause problems in terms of, say, overheating, glare, and noise penetration. So we have this opportunity by putting in the second level with the Spine Gallery. We almost deliver, I suppose, a sort of an upper sort of gallery space that allow people to sort of look down into the Emmacons Hall and experience some of the activities. And one of the early things that we discovered, actually when we were doing public consultation in this reception space before any refurbishment works were occurring, is that people were unaware that there was a hall 10, 15 metres away, which could take 200, 300 people. And and it was about trying to offer those little glimpse views, little sort of sounds, little senses, and just to stimulate them and encourage people to come back and do a second course. And I think that's and that's part of the sort of, I think, the Morley way.
So this is really about visibility. It's about the quality of the space, the soundproofing, and it's primarily, I suppose, about accessibility.
It is, yes. I think accessibility. We know that again, having studied the college, there are lots of level changes. People get confused when they're trying to orientate themselves around the college. I think part of the reason for putting this new core at the back of the building was to be able to complete this loop so that you can enter from one single democratic entrance off of the street. Everybody comes through reception. We then have the ability to actually move around the entire college through a range of lifts which give people full accessibility and to overcome some of the half-level issues that occur because of the way that the college has been sort of developed since the sort of 1930s.
Thank you, Steve, for taking us through your vision for this really exciting phase of Morley Forward. Thank you also to our panellists from earlier, and I'm delighted that we can end today's session with a performance led by one of the musicians who you met earlier on the panel.